Now, there are several ways to take input from a user. One way is to do what we did, but the second way, or the more common way, is people have data that sits in files, right? It could be a text file, it could be a CSV file, comma separated, it could be a tab file, and just many more types of files. And we want to see how we can take all of that data and bring that into our Python code so we can actually make sense out of it, so we can actually start using Python to process that data. So we're gonna take a quick look at a very simple example of being able to read a file from Python. So what we're gonna see here is how to read a file, a CSV file from Python. And I have a file sitting on my desktop environment. That file is in this location. I know for sure because I checked it out before this call and before the recording here, where I know the file location. Just bear with me to type it up here. Is that's the file location I have on my machine, so somewhere within PyCharm's projects library dataset. And if you clone my Git repository, you should have access to this as well. So just go into the practice library, search for datasets, and go in there. You should see CSV customers.csv. all right, and once you have it, wherever you store it, you can use that same path. Now I have double spaces here. It's just a convention within a Windows environment. For Linux, yours might be a little bit different, so you can just check for that online. Now I know the file location, so what we can do here is we can go ahead and just simply set a variable and say call it file location. All right, and that file location will be equals to this. All right, so pretty straightforward stuff at this point. Now what we're gonna do is open a file, right? We want to read customers file. This file has information about customers and we want to read it. So we're gonna simply say customers equals to, we're gonna open, right? As you can see, it tells us what we want to do is give the file name and the mode of operations. So the file name is gonna be file location. Let me actually say file path. I think that's a better description of that variable. All right, because it's a specific path to the file. And then we can say we want to read this file. All right, and to say we're trying to read this file is we're simply using this command to open the file and to actually read it. Then now we can go ahead and print all that records that we read to the screen. All right, we're simply gonna do read. So let's just recap. We have a file which we've set the path. We're simply creating a new variable to say open that path. I can take this and put it in here, but for now let's just use it as a variable, and we're gonna read that file. So if I run this, all right, so it actually runs, and you can see the results of that file that's being printed to the console. So if I open up that file in Excel or in Notepad++, this is what we're gonna see in that file. All right, so Python can read data from files that are sitting on our desktop. So let's actually name this as read.csv file. All right, very simple, very straightforward. Now what if we wanted to go ahead and write to a CSV instead of just reading? All right, so we can simply do what we've done before. So we have let me comment out this code here. I'm gonna comment this out. So now let's copy this. Instead of just reading from a file, we actually want to write to that file. So I'm gonna copy the path that we have. I think we're gonna use that. All right, so the next thing that we want to do, since we have a path to that file, is to actually say our customers, just like the way we had it before, equals to, again, we're gonna open the file like we did before, give it the file path, and in this case we're gonna be writing. So we're gonna write, we say W, so arrow is reading from a file, and then a W is to write from that file. So we're going to see how to write to a CSV file. So we're gonna copy what we did before, which is basically, let me just copy everything from here. We have our file path. We're gonna open up the customer variable, and we're gonna print everything, but instead of reading this time, we're going to be writing to that file. All right, so now we've opened up the file to write to it, so we're using W here instead of read. So remember, in read we were using arrow, in write we're going to be using W. Now that said, I need to write some text into that file, and I have something here already done, so we're going to use that. Let's just get that here on the screen. So we're gonna print some extra text to the end of that screen. As a matter of fact, we're gonna just actually overwrite everything in that screen, and then let's print out the results. But to print out the results, I need to open it one more time here for read, so we can print out the results. So if you go ahead and run this, you see it's added all of this to the end of my file. All right, it's actually overwritten all of that into the end of my file, and then we've also closed that file. Now, what if we didn't want to add it to the end and just overwrite everything in that file, like the way write is doing, right? What if you instead wanted to work with that file to append the results? So this takes us into the next piece here, which is to append to a file. So instead of just writing or overwriting a file, we instead wanted to append to that file. And the way we would append to a file would simply be to do something like this. So again, I'm opening up my file. Let me zoom in correctly. I'm writing something to the range, but here you notice I'm opening this as A plus instead of W plus. So arrow is for read, W is for write, A is for append. So if I run this, it's going to be appending this text to whatever I had in the file before. All right, and if I have to run this and actually see results on the screen, I am going to have to set customers to, let's just set this really quick. Let's say file path, and we want a file path equals to that, so that should work. We run this. Now you notice I've appended so 21 all the way to 29. Now I've appended a bunch of things to it. All right, so once you open your file with A plus, you're gonna be appending to that file. All right, guys, so very, very powerful concept. And just to summarize, if this kind of seems like there's a lot of moving pieces here, this is the syntax that we use for that. So if we're trying to read, once you open a file with arrow, you're reading with W, you're writing with X, it creates a new file, right? If the file already exists, it fails. With A, appends to the file. With T, is a default mode, it opens in text mode, so you can if you wanted to read, write, and all of that, you can do it with T, text mode. And then with B, opens the binary mode, plus will open the file for reading and writing, updating, and all of that. So depending on what you're trying to do for a file, you can choose the specific way in which you're going to be opening your file. All right, guys, so I hope this helps. This gives you some ideas. If you're working with a file, a text file, a CSV file, you should be able to access that file, open it up, read data from it, use that data within your Python program. Now we're going to switch gears